But I'm about to say, bro, I ain't trying to hear that right now, dog. I need you to listen. I'm right, goddamn it. I'm right.
I won't say I'm a passive person. I'm a person that prioritizes peace. But sometimes my prioritization of peace can come off as passivity because I don't address things I need to address.
I didn't want you to feel like I was not attracted to you or I didn't want you.
But you weren't.
I wasn't.
Looking good, man.
I give God glory. I had to leave the big back ministry alone. It wasn't for me.
Double big back.
All right, man. All right, now.
Having uncomfortable conversations, obviously, it's uncomfortable. But I would rather have an uncomfortable conversation than die from a heart attack.
The Griers. Yeah. I was gonna do like the whole resume, like, you know, but we'll let you guys kind of introduce yourselves throughout the conversation and everything. So, do you want to kick off? How y'all feeling?
We feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yes.
You look good.
Yeah, y'all got y'all.
I'm trying with all these kids.
Got your salmon and your denim on. I ain't get the denim text in the group chat.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Just trying to do something.
Yeah,
Make sure I'm comfortable. Still fly a little bit.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, we're glad y'all here, man. We're glad y'all here. As always, thank you guys for those who are watching for the first time or listening for the first time. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. For those who give and partner with us financially, Cash App, PayPal, everything's in the comments or the description. Thank you guys for your generosity and support. And let's get into this conversation. We're going to tell you guys what we're going to talk about, but Bree is going to kick us off with our question for the week.
So this is the same question we have every podcast. We start off with the question of, what are you going through this week? So either we can start off first. We know you guys are used to doing this question, or we can let y'all go. How do y'all want to do it?
I mean, I can go. That's cool.
Okay. Of course.
Give the people your name. They don't know you.
Man, my name is Kanan. My name is Kanan Grier.
The Kanan Grier.
Oh, nah.
Amen.
Nah, my name is Kanan Grier. This is my beautiful, gorgeous, sexy wife, Jira.
Oh, my.
You gotta go. You gotta do all that.
You know, I gotta tell them how I see you.
Oh, yeah. Talk that talk.
Being for real, man.
So, what we talked about earlier, this generation don't know about honor.
Come on, don't get me started.
Let your husband honor you.
Because you trying to reach the masses, and I'm about to start prophesying. Don't start just yet. Don't start just yet. So I would say honestly, based on this week, I'm going. You said going or growing through?
Growing.
I'm growing through small thinking.
Okay.
I've had a confrontation with the Lord about how small my thinking has been. I've limited God and what he could do and his ability in my ministry, in my marriage, in my life, because I've been thinking too low. And what I've been growing through is getting out of a mindset of playing it safe, thinking that I'm waiting on God when God is waiting on me. And I believe that in this season, God is saying, you're seeing small because you're seeing small. And we have, and I'm sorry. I know. You guys are reaching everybody, but you know, I'm just really starting to understand that God is really big, and God is not the problem. It's how we see him, and I've been seeing him too low. I've been seeing him too small. So that's what I'm growing through. I'm growing through resetting, recalibrating my mindset, because I want to see how the apostles walked in miracles and how miracles were normal to them. Now we call miracles, but miracle, that was just normal life to them. So that's what I'm growing through, recalibrate my mindset to see God bigger so that I can see greater things.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Jay?
Listen, how am I supposed to follow that? Like, he done just gave us a whole sermon.
That's because he's a whole pastor.
But what I've been growing through this week is just fully stepping out, like, you know, not being afraid, stepping out on what God has called me to do and my purpose in life. For so many years, I just have always played the background. Like, being the youngest sister, I'm just like, okay, it was easier to just hide behind, you know, everything. But I really feel like God this week is pushing me to, like, step out, because there's so many things that he wants to do through me, but he can't do it if I don't step out. So that's what I'm growing through this week is, stepping outside of fear, honey, and just stepping out. Because, what we got to lose? Jesus coming back soon.
Listen.
Right.
Please come back soon.
Right.
I know. I called you, too. I called her this week. Okay.
Love that.
Well, so what am I growing through this week? So a lot of people know or don't know that I got a new job recently. So I've been here for almost 2 months now, and I prayed for this job, so I'm really thankful for it. But I am growing through balance with the job. This job is requiring a lot out of me right now. And so I'm trying to find the balance with motherhood and being a wife, but then also having a career. It's hard sometimes. Me and Austin have had conversations about it because there's like one day where I usually always eat dinner with my kids, and that is supposed to be a non-negotiable for me. But I found myself like not eating at the dinner table and like eating while working because I'm just like in a stressful season of my job where it's budget season. There's a lot going on. It's a new hotel. So it's just a lot for me to have to, invest in right now. But I've been asking God just for the wisdom to know how to operate in this season because, seasons are going to be different. There's certain seasons that are going to require more out of you. And so I've just been asking God for the wisdom to know like, hey, I know I need this job, but at the same time, like my family is more important. So how do you want me to operate in this season? So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things I'm going through is just trying to find the balance, and sometimes you won't have balance. And I've had to kind of like just settle with that too. Sometimes you're just going to have to figure out how to prioritize what's important.
That's true.
Like everything is not always going to have like a complete equal balance, but I really just want to seek God on how he wants me to navigate this season and just, career in general, also having, children and being a wife.
Yeah, you've been doing really good with it. I'll partner mine with what you're kind of growing through on the other side of the table. And I'll give the context with, in our relationship, I've been used to being the one that's always busy, like always either having to speak somewhere, just doing a lot of stuff outside of work or even with work sometimes, whether it be travel, just engagements, coaching, X, Y, and Z, right? And it's easy to think that should just be the norm for me and never for you because you can get accustomed to what your spouse does so frequently that well, she's always home, she's always doing this, she's always doing that. But when the season changes for your spouse and the demand changes for them because God has put just as much into you as he's put in me, I have to adjust and grow through learning how to support you the way you supported me when it comes to just your schedule, your time being, what it is, and just being gracious as far as just, like you mentioned, the whole dinner conversation. I mean, we'll talk about it maybe in this episode, but I didn't really want to say anything because I was just like, well, I don't want to come off as, being a jerk, but I'm like, I don't want you also to get so consumed with your work that you lose yourself in it. So it's just been like a hard balance, but giving grace to say like, well, she just started a new job. There's been times and there's been seasons where you've been just as busy, and even if it was a problem, it wasn't like a argument or something like that. So just trying to give the same grace that you've given me, you know what I mean? But then also trying to figure out, hey, how can I support you as you're growing through, this adjustment and everything. We know it won't always be like this. It's not. And the thing is, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just different. Yeah. It's just new. It's something to grow through. It's something to grow through, right? But how do you navigate that together where you don't make it about just yourself? Yeah. And I think I heard the Perrys talk about that, where Preston was talking about how Jackie he wasn't used to her being so busy, but when she started to her ministry started to grow more and more, he had to adjust to, and obviously they got a different situation. They got nannies and, stuff like that. But he also had to adjust on just being used to his wife always, being on the road and stuff like that versus him being. So, yeah, I mean, I want to always make sure that you're getting support in the way that you give support to me, because I think marriage should be reciprocal and even and stuff like that. Yeah. And honestly, God is still working some selfishness out of me. So, it'd be selfish to want the support that you give me, but not give that support to you. You know what I mean? So, just being real. So,
Oh, it's so sweet.
Not on the couch. We got guests right now. All right. But listen, we kind of in that same vein. So, we got some questions, but we also, y'all family, just a little context. We maybe can give the context, to how we met and everything. I think I met Kanan. Obviously I met Kanan first. Ever since I met Kanan, he's been screaming on the microphone. So he's always been screaming on the microphone. But we met back when we were in, was it middle school?
Middle school, high school.
Yeah, kind of middle
Definitely
school.
just like youth ministry age.
Yeah, probably like 8th grade. 8th grade sounds good.
Yep.
Our churches used to go to, or our church growing up that I grew up in used to go to their church's lock-in.
Yep.
And so for those who don't know what lock-ins is, you literally get there at like 6 o'clock that evening.
Get where?
Yeah.
At the church. Yeah.
The church.
And their church was like Dave and Buster's. So they had,
Yeah, it was.
real,
It
right?
was.
for real.
It was.
They had a gym.
Yeah.
They had
Game room, bowling
arcade,
alley.
all the things. That was my first time ever seeing something like that in church. So I was like, oh yeah, every year I'm going. And then we also played basketball. So that's when I met Kanan. I met guys like, shout out to Dale Riley, Justin Fox, David Butler.
Homies, yep.
Would hoop with guys like, what's my man's name? John Osborne.
Yep.
Scotty.
Yep.
God bless his soul,
Yeah,
man.
man.
So,
Rest in peace.
So that's how we got connected, and then we got like, I won't say we got disconnected. I think just life happened.
Just life happened. You don't want to say drift apart, but you just start to grow in your own spaces. And I think
and then we went to college too. So,
yeah. So I think, and actually our college was in the same conference. I think because Gardner Webb and Winthrop was in the same conference.
Didn't even realize
So I
that.
think one day, I hit you on Twitter.
Yep.
About something. I can't even remember what it was.
I think it was about where at the church I was going to at the time. And you were asking about the apprenticeship program.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
And thank God I didn't go through it. That was not the plan of God. But I think that was a season in my life where I desperately needed somebody to validate me. I needed somebody to say, you are anointed, you are gifted, you are called. And in that ministry, and I'm going to just be very, very real, I knew because I was black that they would easily give me a job. Because I knew how that ministry worked, and I knew that diversity was one of their top priorities, not for the sake of caring for those who are diverse necessarily. Now, it probably was, but at the same time, this is business.
Yep.
And for a lot of organizations, diversity works for the numbers. It works for the brand. So I knew, and also for me too, because my heart was in the wrong place. Well, if they stamp me, I'm anointed, I'm gifted. So I think I reached out to you and wanted your perspective on it. And thank God I didn't go through it, because God was preparing me for something else. But so yeah, I reached out to you, and then I think after that, man, we just stayed connected.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we just locked in, and yeah, man, like I ain't gonna say you are the definition of a friend. You are the definition of a brother. Any time in my life where I needed you, and I'm talking about whether it's a victory, whether it's a loss, or whether I'm in hell, or whether I'm like, hey, bro, ish done hit the fan.
Yeah.
He's the first person I call. He's the first person. And he's always going to be the first person. You always going to be the first person. And I think because I found value in you where you see Canaan, you didn't see gifting, you didn't see anointing, you didn't care about none of that. It was just, you saw me. And man, I just want to take time to tell you that me sending you that DM or that instant message back then, whatever it was called on Twitter, like that was like the greatest decision that I've made.
You about to cry?
Nah, I'll probably cry later. I probably cry when I'll probably start crying when we talk about how you thought I was fat and you was texting Bria on the low. I probably start crying then.
I wasn't texting Bria.
You clearly were.
We were in the car together. And I was just talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking to my wife's. You were talking to my homeboy's best friend about how fat I was. No, but anyway, let me get back to honoring my friend. Let me get back to the tribute. Let me get back to the tribute of me honoring my friend before we start going in on me, because it's gonna be a long night.
Have mercy.
But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you, man. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for who you are. I'm grateful for who God has called you to be. I'm grateful for your heart. I'm grateful for your anointing, your gifting. You always create time for me. Amen. And I pray that I've done the same thing for you. I pray that I've been there for you.
Absolutely.
I pray that I've sown into you the same way. Same thing with your wife, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, Bria is such a light to where I've seen my wife become even more open.
Oh yeah, she's so sweet.
Through their connection. and you know, one of the things that me and Austin would talk about is like, yo, like, we can't force our wives to be like me and you, but I am believing God that their friendship grows.
It already done grew.
It's grown. It's grown, but I can't have an expectation for you to love Bria the way I love Austin. Like, that has to be organic.
Yeah.
Because me and Austin done been like I always tell people that you don't find friends in the sunshine, you find them in storms. Mm-hmm. And me and Austin have been through storms where he's called me, hey bro, just put your phone on mute. I need to go off real quick. I've called him, hey bro, I need you to go on mute. And I need to go off real quick. And the thing that I love about our friendship is that one thing that me and him, we both do, is that if we say something that's off, we correct each other. We always do that. Like, he'll be like, I hear you. This is Austin. Yeah, I hear you. But is it also? And sometimes I'll be like,
yeah, I ain't trying to hear that.
I was about to say that. I was about to say where I ain't supposed to say. But I was about to say, bro, I ain't trying to hear that right now, dog. I need you to listen. I'm right, goddamn it. I'm right. You know what I'm saying? I'm right now. I don't want therapist, Austin. Just listen to me because I'm right.
Thank you, Austin.
No. I mean, like, man, shut up. Like, listen to me. Listen to me. But I need that though, and that's what a lot of people don't like. They don't want accountability. They just want to be heard, but they don't want to be corrected. So I just want to say thank you so much for being the best friend I could ever ask for, man. You are literally a gift to my life, man.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Sure. Love you, man. Love you.
Man, for sure.
I think just even talking about the context of our friendship, and then we'll get into it more just even with our wives and everything as well. I think real friendships are able to have deep roots because of hard conversations. And I think, you know, friend is such a loose term that's passed around nowadays because we don't know how to prioritize and put people in categories. We give friend benefits to people who wouldn't, you know, spit in our direction if we were on fire. You know what I mean? So you gotta, you know, and it's biblical too if you think about it. Jesus had, you know, I call it the realms of relationships. Yeah. You have the multitudes who follow Jesus based upon, hey, Jesus, I love what you did with that fish and that bread. Can you do that again? Then you have, you know, let's say the 120. Then you have the 72. Then you have the 12. And then even after the 12 disciples, there's only the inner three, the big three, Peter, James, and John. And there's some things that he told Peter, James, and John that he couldn't tell to Judas because he knew who Judas was. So if I give Judas Peter privileges when he doesn't, not saying that he doesn't deserve it, but he may not have the capacity for it. And I think that's the thing, you know, nowadays we don't know how to have capacity assessment when it comes to our friendship. So we're divulging, we're giving it precious, intimate information to people who don't have the capacity to hold it.
Come on, man.
Because they'll hold it for a second and then give it to other people.
Yeah,
preach it.
Yeah. Okay. So because the thing about people is you can't just discern your own capacity. You have to also discern theirs.
Yes.
You have to also have the ability, and that's why the Holy Spirit is so key, because you have to sit back and say, okay, I can put you in this category, but I can't put you in this one. Mm-hmm. Because you have the capacity to hear my burdens. You only have the capacity to hear my blessings. Mm. Because if I tell this one my burdens, then this one will take my burdens to the wrong place. Mm-hmm. But if I tell this one my burdens, then this one will know how to keep it. Because you also have to learn that everybody is not meant for every conversation.
That's good.
And I had to learn that. And that just because you're my friend, that does not mean that you can handle all of me. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have different friends in different categories.
Yeah.
It's okay to have it's okay to have friends that I can go to the ground with, and there are some friends I can only go to the ear with. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have the capacity to discern different friendships. And we can all still be good, all still be cool, but there's some friends that I'm gonna go to the gutter with. And there's some friends that I'm only going to go to the street with. And there's some friends I'm only going to stay on the porch with.
Yeah, that's good. So I have a question, and I'll kick it to the ladies because I'm just interested to hear your perspective. I think guys, and you can put it in the comments, guys, if you're watching, ladies, if you're watching as well, you can comment on this. Personally, I think guys, it's very easy for us to be vulnerable with one another, with guys. With women sometimes, and again, I don't want to speak for you. This is my observation. Y'all can check me, correct me, do all the things. But women, especially in the context of our marriage, I can make friends with a tree. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. My wife be like, that's a snake.
Listen, girl.
But she won't say that it's a snake. She just be like, I'd be like, what you mean? You know what I mean? So like the discernment level for women is very high. However, sometimes that's to a default because there are walls up for people that you should actually put that wall down and make a bridge for. And I want to hear from the ladies, when it comes to trust, because I think right now we're talking. The theme of this episode, we're talking about how to have hard conversations. We're gonna bring it in the context of marriage as well, but I think right now we're just talking in general. But ladies, why is it hard for women to trust one another? Why is like the trust factor? Like why is that hard, especially when creating healthy friendships? And if maybe that hasn't been your experience and it is easy, talk to me about that. But from y'all perspective,
I'll say this: I don't know if it's so hard for me to trust people. I think that as women, and especially not just as a woman, but as a mom. I think I just don't have as much capacity as you would have for friendships. And when it comes to friends, I make sure that it's definitely more like quality over quantity. Because if I know that I have lack of time, just because I do have 2 kids, I do have a full-time job, I have 2 kids, having kids is a full-time job. So there's so many things that go up in your mind that when it comes to inviting people into your space and really trusting them to come in, and to me it's just like time is very valuable. So if I'm going to take time out to really spend time with somebody, I'm wanting to make sure that this person is someone that I can trust around my children, that I can trust around my husband, that I can trust with all the intimate and vulnerable things, because I don't just want surface level friends. If I'm going to have 2 to 3, really close friends, I want those to be friends. I know you guys said that you put people in categories, but I want the people that I'm inviting them into my space to be able to handle all of me. I don't want just like, okay, yeah, we go. First of all, I don't play basketball. I feel like a lot of friends that guys meet, they're like, oh yeah, we just play ball together. We see each other every now and then. I don't have the time to go and get coffee, multiple times a week. I don't have time to go just like meet all these people. So the people that I meet, it will be usually like somebody who is like one of your friends' wives or something like that I may connect with. And so that's how we will meet. And then if it's somebody where I'm like, okay, I can relate to them, I get along with them, I feel like, my discernment says, what, this person is a good person, then I want to take the time to really get to know them and build that relationship. But other than that, I don't have time to be making several friends.
I agree with you. Like, in what you're saying, being a wife, being a mother of 4, it's hard to like have time. You barely have time for yourself. So you're trying to make time to bring it has to make sense. It has to be genuine. It has to be worth your time. Yep. And I know with me, also in another, stance, like I had trust issues. So with dealing with other relationships with, other females who you thought were your friends, but they really wasn't your friends and end up turning on you. And, just growing up like with a single parent and a sister, it was just us. It was just us three. And so it's like, that's how I kind of grew up. Like I didn't really trust anybody. But I feel like in this season, like God is requiring me to develop like relationships with people and, and make connections with other people, which is totally out of my comfort zone. Totally out of my comfort zone because I'm okay with just chasing my kids around the house because that's what I do all day because I'd be tired after that anyway. But I really feel like God is really like pushing me in this season to cultivate relationships and, just build that. So I know in my instance, like she said, I agree with her as far as with, not really having time, but I had a lot of trust issues and I didn't want to open the door to someone and they're not truly genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's real. That's real. So you mentioned two things I heard. You mentioned trust issues and you mentioned right now being intentional with cultivating the right relationships. One relationship that never goes away in the context that we all share together is the relationship of marriage. And how when you get into marriage, no matter if you have trust issues or if you don't, you bring baggage into marriage and you have to be able to sit at TSA with your spouse and sort through what's in those bags, right? And that's a journey process that really never goes away because, as we've stated on the podcast, no marriage is perfect, especially ours, but it's perfect when you're growing literally in love. So we're growing together, we're learning together, we're grieving together. You guys mentioned on your live that you guys had on Facebook, y'all talked about the balance of the better or worse, when it comes to marriage. So when you come a part of the cultivation process of marriage, a lot of times we like to think of, I think sometimes, and hear me when I say this, marriage is amazing, right? And it's work. Multiple seats considered at the table. Yeah. A part of the work that we've had to navigate through is learning how to lean into confrontation instead of being passive about it. I won't say I'm a passive person. I'm a person that prioritizes peace, but sometimes my prioritization of peace can come off as passivity because I don't address things that I need to address. Yeah. So you got to be able to really discern, am I being passive or am I just saying, no, we just need peace in this? Yeah. And, we started marriage counseling, actually, that was last week. You know what I mean? It's vital. Yeah, and people hear that like, oh, what's going on? I knew something was going on. No, you didn't. First of all, nothing's going on. Second, we need to stop waiting until something happens to do marriage counseling and actually do it as preventative maintenance. You don't wait until your car starts shaking to get an oil change. There's a mile marker on your sticker that says, hey, at this point, you need to go and take it in. Right. And I think we need to start. What you said, babe? That's a part of stewardship. Yeah, it's a part of stewardship. Yeah, but it's like, if something is truly valuable, you invest time into it. If your body is valuable, you invest time, family, all the things, right? So this is a decision that we said, hey, let's just do it. Let's find someone that we can trust and who's going to challenge us. And one of the things they challenged us, this week is, learning our patterns and learning, how we maneuvering through being passive and, leaning into some of those conversations. I want to, kind of go there tonight and talk about what that's looked like, in marriage, figuring out how to have the hard conversations, how we can encourage spouses and just even talk to people who are single right now, because I think sometimes people have a false expectation sometimes of what marriage is. Yeah. They get in it and they're disappointed because they had an expectation that once I get married, I've crossed the finish line, not realizing that it's a new beginning. Right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about hard conversations, even in the context of marriage. First question I have for you guys: why is it so hard for us to be honest with each other when this is the person that we said I want to spend the rest? We make a decision, say I want to spend the rest of my life with you, right? Mm-hmm. but I can't have the daily hard conversations with you. Mm-hmm. But to think I'm going to spend literally the rest of my life, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a commitment decision that you're saying, out of all the options in the world, I'm choosing you. Every single day, I'm choosing her. And with choosing her means I have to choose to learn her, to know her. She learning me. And a part of the learning is, again, I've always said this before, you can't really learn somebody if you don't ask questions.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we're afraid to ask the hard questions or be honest, because you could handle me when we were dating, and then if it didn't work, we just go our separate ways. But what happens now when we're quote unquote we're in it for the long haul? You stuck with me now, right? So what if I ask you something, or if we have a conversation that I can't escape from? I think that's a part of it. But I'm talking too much. Let me hear from you guys. What does it look like? Why is it hard for us to be honest in our marriage?
Man, I think it's hard for us to be honest because nobody likes hard. Nobody likes hard anything. You don't like hard conversations. You don't like hard days. You don't like hard moments. We love easy, especially because we live in a generation of convenience. Like I posted a couple weeks ago, or maybe like a couple days ago, before you vow for better or for worse, you need to think about the worst just as much as you think about the better. Most people don't think about what's worse. It's almost to the point now to where it's like when people, like I've had people come up to me, talk to me like, hey man, like I'm thinking about planting a church. Why?
Listen here.
For what? And then I just really want to pastor. And in my mind, you goof. You have no idea what you're about to get into. But now I'm starting to think, you know what? I'm gonna start doing the same thing to people who say, I want to get married. Why? For what? I'm not encouraging you to sin, but for what? I'm not encouraging you to fornicate, but for what? Do you know what you're doing? Because we don't look at marriage as forever. We don't look at marriage as I'm going to be with you and I have to learn you. And in me learning you, I have to allow myself to take the back seat at times.
Man, that's good.
I have to kill my ego. So let's even go back to what you said about passivity. I'm the same way. I prioritize peace. But in me prioritizing peace, I avoid conflict. And one of the reasons why I avoid conflict is because I don't want to deal with the conversation that needs to be had, because I'm afraid of the misunderstanding that might either be misinterpreted on my end, or I may put the relationship at risk. Also, too, because I have a pastor's heart. People don't understand that most pastors are punks at heart. Unless you come from the CEO world, unless you come from the leadership world, that pastoral heart will mess you up, because you have such a heart for people that you will overlook their flaws instead of confronting them. And then we will call it grace, when grace is confrontational. Grace is not only the allowing of a thing, but it's okay, I'm going to see who you are, but I need to confront this in love so that we can get to the fact that, wait a minute, you're still redeemed, you're still holy, you still have an identity. So even relating it back to my marriage, I had to apologize to my wife recently, maybe like a couple weeks ago. And I had to tell her, like, yo, I did not create a culture of healthy confrontation and conversation in our marriage. So we here, so we might as well get to it, because this is what we talk about all night. We might as well get to it. So I've been on a health journey, and
doing a great job, by the way.
Man, appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
very well.
Appreciate it, man. I give God glory.
Looking good, man.
I give God glory. I had to leave the big back ministry alone. It wasn't for me.
Double big back.
All right, man. All right now. You ain't about to get on here and start cooking. You are not about to get on here and start cooking me.
Put it out there. I'm sorry.
You're not about to do it. You have to go slow. You have to relax.
Okay.
So over the last 4 months, I've been in the gym super heavy, because I reached a point in my life where I'm like, yo, everything in my life is heavy. Everything in my life is, like, when I say everything in my life is big, it ain't because God doing this big one. No, I'm the big one. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Literally.
And let me also be clear. I'm not here to be offensive. I'm not here to be rude. I'm telling my story. I'm talking about, and I believe that it's the will of God that every believer be healthy.
Yeah.
The Bible says in 3 John 2, beloved, I pray that you may prosper and be in good health. even as your soul prospers. That's the Bible. But the problem is we like to overlook the things that we don't like in the Bible, and we like to rejoice of the things that we do like. That's another part for another day. Anyway, so I had to go on a journey where I'm like, wait a minute, you're unhealthy. And I remember one time I was in my room. I told the story before at Ready Church. I was getting dressed, and the thing about when you start gaining weight, you don't know you gain weight. And honestly, it's Austin's fault. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm glad
you gave the love early.
Because I know, I of course, you gonna be in this with me. No matter what, you're gonna be in this with me. So Austin is a very influential person in my life. So we always talk about fashion, we talk about life, talk about ministry. Austin started wearing this brand that I've always admired, but I never got it, and it's called Essentials.
They will lie to you.
So
every time, the Essentials will lie to you.
So Essentials, for those of you who don't know, is by a guy named Jerry Lorenzo, Fear of God.
Shout out to Jerry.
Shout out to Jerry. It's a brand that has multiple components to it. The brand that has a lot of sweatsuits, it's called Essentials, and Austin was wearing Essentials, and he was like, "Hey, bro, you need to tap in." So I started tapping in.
It's your fault he was fat.
Hey, man, chill out. So
it's Austin's fault.
So what happened was I started wearing Essential, and I told him this. I started wearing that brand not only because it was fly, but because I was able to hide. Mm-hmm. Because of how it's curated, you're able to hide certain body parts. But here's the problem. Essentials is made to be oversized. But what happens when what's oversized is starting to become your size?
It's starting to fit. Okay? When oversized no more. That stuff fit good and tight.
Yo. That junk wasn't oversized no more. That junk was starting to become premium. Yeah. That junk was starting to that junk was starting to fit good. I was like, hey, wait a minute. What's going on here?
You just talked about how good of a friend he was. That's not a good friend.
Nah.
You should have like, bruh, you know.
Yeah, no, you know what? Neither one of them are good friends. Because I'm going to tell you why. I sent these to a picture of me the other day looking like an ogre. And I'm sitting here like, hey, y'all let me get this big. What's going on here? I'm sitting here looking like I got gumballs in my cheeks.
You did.
And I'm like, I cannot believe.
Like a squirrel with a mouthful of nuts.
Hey, all right. Hey, pause. Whoa.
Wait.
What's going on here?
Never mind.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, you got to relax.
Next.
Hey, yo. Pause.
Take over.
Come on, man. You got to use a better example than that.
Just go on. Just go on with your story.
Man, that's gross.
Go on with your story.
Anyway, all right. So my Essential started to fit. Hey, that fear of God wasn't God fear no more, boy. I tell you that. That fear of God.
Fear of Canaan. Fear of Canaan. Now I don't fear of God no more.
She said fear of Canaan. I tell you what. I tell you what, but I'm being for real, boy. That junk wasn't no fear of God no more. It wasn't nothing to fear. That junk became tight. I said, hey,
talk about go.
I was like, man, these sweatshirts used to fit good.
Go ahead. You just got off. You just
joints can't even straight. The sweatband about to break. So
you know how the neck part fit a little tight, so it was like uphill. It was like up here. And it was like that thing be so tight on his neck. Dang, it's a t-shirt.
Oh man, oh my God.
Why is it tight around your neck like you got a turtleneck?
Brian, you're a lion. Cut it out, Brian. You're a lion.
Brian, you just always so sweet, y'all.
No. See, this is the problem.
Hard conversation.
This is what I'm talking about, Brian. I was sitting there losing my life, drowning in gravy, and you gonna sit here and tell me that I was not that big?
Pause. Did you say drowning in gravy?
Drowning in gravy.
Because you used to get them gravy biscuits from like.
All right, now, anybody tell you to get
context?
So he was literally drowning in gravy, for real. Because he would ask them to add extra gravy.
Yo.
So, you know. But anyways, this is what we talking about.
Okay, so the point was you got big. You got bigger.
Yeah, I got big because of these two, because they wouldn't be honest with me. But here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. One thing I had to. This is what I apologize to my wife about. because I did not create a culture of honesty in my marriage where she could be honest with me. Because, and I sit back and think like, yo, I must have really had an ego to where my wife could not talk to me about my health. And the Bible says that, according to the word of God, that your wife is your helpmate. But when your wife is your helpmate and your mate can't help you, what is she supposed to do?
Pray for you.
Yeah, she was praying for me, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it's one thing for my wife to pray for me, but it's shit. But honestly, in my opinion, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there should be a culture of communication and relationship where you should be able to confront me first. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just automatically saying, Lord, I need you to help me. Okay. If that makes sense. Don't get me wrong. The Lord is our help. So we look as into the hills from which cometh our help. Yeah. But like, yo, like you should be able to talk to me.
All right. So put a pin right there. So for one of the ladies, hearing that from a man's perspective, right? Let's talk about that. Let's dig a little deeper. Why is that? Like, why? What do we think that is? Like, what do we think the resistance to address, to confront?
I would say in our case, I didn't want to hurt his feelings. You know, it's like, you know, he still have feelings, he still have emotions, and then also with me, there were so many things about me that I'm insecure about. So I didn't want to like act like I'm just got it all together and I'm this and I'm that, and then like I just didn't want to hurt his feelings because I don't want you to be crushed. You were already carrying a lot, so I didn't want that to be something else that you had to deal with. Like, oh, this going on, now my wife ain't attracted to me, now my wife don't want me, and I didn't want you to feel like I was not attracted to you or I didn't want you.
But you weren't.
I wasn't, you know. So I wasn't attracted.
Exactly.
But I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Who was already there.
Because you already know
everything else was hurting. My belt was hurting.
Your back, everything. But I'm serious. But like, and then on top of that, like, but you have to know your spouse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, Kanan, he's very tenderhearted. You know, he could take a lot, but he's tenderhearted. And I didn't want to crush him. You know what I mean? Because like, I would say with a man, if your wife is telling you, I'm not attracted to you, and that's your person, that's the one you have to be with for the rest of your life, and you feel like they're not attracted to you, you get what I'm saying? Like, how would you make that, how would that feel?
I think it's also about like not even just sometimes like what you're saying, but how you're saying it. Because I think like if there's a situation maybe where I'm definitely attracted to you, but I'm saying if there's a situation where I wasn't attracted to you, I don't think I would come out rightfully and be like, hey, I'm unattracted to you. Right. But like if there was a weight issue, I would probably be like, listen, we both need to be healthy. Like, this is, I got married to you, but I want this to be a forever thing, right? But I want forever to last.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's true.
Yeah. And so in order for us to have a healthy marriage, as your helpmate, I want to let you know, like, hey, you're getting unhealthy. You know, and there's a reason why, right? Like, there's context to what you said, that everything in your life felt heavy.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's another thing where it's just like, hey, like, I know that there's a lot going on, but I think that there's some things that you can do to kind of help you get through this, you know, season or this time. Right. So, you know, maybe we should prioritize your health. So it's things like that. I don't think it's like having uncomfortable conversations. Obviously, it's uncomfortable, but I would rather have an uncomfortable conversation than you die from a heart attack.
True.
Yeah, I think another reason why people don't want to have uncomfortable conversations is because people get very lost in the leaves. What I mean is you can have a conversation and you get so tired of getting lost in the leaves because you're trying to get to the roots. But when it's a lot of leaves in the way, like for an example, my weight was a leaf. My weight was a leaf. But there was deep roots in my heart of everything else that was going on. And what it was an inadequacy of me feeling like because at the root of everything, there is an unbelief and an unrest in God's love. Like we can sit back and I can sit back and say, man, I was going through a lot on my job. I was going through a lot. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I wasn't a good provider. I felt as if as a man, my wife didn't trust me as a leader. I didn't know if I was a good father because I was always fussing. I was always tired. I was coming home. I needed a nap every single day. I'm talking about 3 hibernation type nap because I had all that weight on me. And then I'm secretly going to Cookout at McDonald's. I'm secretly going to Domino's and all these different things. I'm not even telling my wife that I'm eating like this, but it's showing. And I'm thinking as long as I get a haircut and as long as my clothes look good, but it was starting to show, right? Because here's the thing, like you can only hide but for so long. Like I think it's amazing that after Adam and Eve sinned, the first thing they did was run to fig trees and to fig leaves, and fig leaves aren't going to last. So because what we do is when we're dealing with deep hurt, we always run to things that won't last, right? So my wife couldn't get through the leaves to get through the fact that, man, I don't feel loved. I'm preaching every week, but I don't know if I believe this. I'm just saying it. I'm just getting on stage. And like, I think I told her, I was like, I'm getting on stage. I'm preparing sermons, but there's no power when I'm preaching because I don't even really believe it. I'm just regurgitating what I've studied. So then I had an encounter with the Lord where I'm like, wait a minute, something's off. And in that moment, it's like, you know what? Nah. I have to start believing what I'm saying. No, God does love me. He does love me. He does. And because he loves me, I can love myself. And I remember scrolling through my phone and I hit my sister-in-law. And my sister-in-law, she was, shout out to Jamaica, she was already working out. And it was a picture of me and her. We were smaller. And I said, yo, what happened? And she was like, well, you need to come to this good old gym with me. And I went. And that was June, I think it was like June 22nd, something like that. But that was months ago. And ever since then, I think I'm close to 28 pounds down. Yeah, man. Like that's 28 awesome. Pounds down.
Praise the Lord.
But the thing about it was the weight wasn't the weight. Yeah. The weight was in my heart. It was here. I had to deal with this. But the issue was because I didn't want to deal with this, everybody else in my life suffered. My ministry suffered. My wife suffered. My children suffered because I didn't have the energy to play with them. My wife suffered because at the end of the day, yes, your spouse should love you regardless. Your spouse should love you regardless. But I have a responsibility to my wife to make sure that I'm healthy, to make sure that I am the best spouse that I can be. And people can sit back and somebody say, "Oh, that's carnal that you weren't trying." No. At the end of the day, this is my body, and God gave me authority over my body. Mm-hmm. He gave me authority over my body. If you want to, if God loved me the same way as I was when I was big as I am smaller. But the reality is, the question is not God's love or God's perspective. The question is, how do you see you? Yeah. How did I see me? And because I saw myself unhealthily, I put my wife's perspective out of alignment. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Like because I saw myself unhealthy, my wife had to suffer.
Literally. Literally.
Hey, bro.
I carried the weight too.
Hey, bro.
You're getting crushed.
Hey, bro. I came out the bathroom maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was like, baby, I feel so much lighter. She like, yeah, baby, you real light. I was like, all right now, you gotta relax.
A little heavy.
you gotta relax. But we don't think about that, man. Yeah. Like we don't think about the pain that our spouses endure when we go through pain. We like it's so easy to go and hide in your cave. But the reality is when you have a spouse, your spouse is in that cave with you. Yeah. And sometimes you can get so lost in your cave that you're not considering, wait a minute, I got to come out of this because if I don't come out of this, then she might leave me. Not saying that she would do that. Not saying that. We got too many kids. Now, bump that. I'll just go stay in another room. You can forget that. Bump that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's really hard to have those type of conversations when your ego is just that inflated. And that's why I can sit back and say, man, you know what? My ego really had to be out of whack. Yeah. My ego really had to be very fragile because my wife couldn't even tell me. And my mama said the same thing. My mama was like, yeah, baby, I wanted to tell you. Well, why you didn't tell me? Don't sit back and tell me now that I'm smaller that you want to. No, I don't want to hear that now. But it's like when you're going through it, you think that everybody going to be honest with you, but it's hard to when they want to love you well. But sometimes loving people well is glossing over the thing they need to hear, you know?
That's good. I like that, and I get that. I think sometimes, though, like, it's like, because of everything that you were going through, JR telling you, hey, I'm unattracted to you. I'm like, does that really still solve the problem of what you're going through?
Yeah, she never even told me that.
Yeah, because at the root of what it wasn't really, you know, her being truly unattracted to you about your weight, but everything that you were going through. So you wouldn't even have gotten to the point mentally where you decided, hey, I want to lose weight until something deeper had to change within you. So it's just like, as wives, sometimes because we are protectors of the heart, you know, we can tell you, hey, I'm not attracted to you, but at the end of the day, what is that going to solve?
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to solve anything. If she would have told you that during the season that you were in with everything that was going on, hey, I'm unattracted to you. Dang, wow. You said yourself, you just wanted love. You wanted to see, you know.
Exactly.
And so if I'm his wife, I'm speaking life into him. I don't want to continue to condemn him. Hey, while you're feeling like that you're unloved, now I'm going to make you feel like your wife doesn't love you. Now I'm going to make you feel like you're less than. No, actually, I want to tell you, listen, you're loved. You should be confident. Okay, God loves you. Okay?
Yeah.
Listen, and because he loves you, you need to be a great steward over your body, okay? And not like, listen, I'm unattracted to you. You actually are fat. You've gained this much weight. You're not fitting in your clothes.
They'll crush them.
Yeah, no, like, hey, like, I love you. Like, you don't understand. You don't see yourself the way that I see you.
Yeah.
You know, you need to see yourself the way that God. I know that you're going through a rough season right now, but there's so much more for you, and I want you to see yourself the way God sees you. I'm going to continue to pray for you. Sometimes as wives, we know when to pray and we know when to confront, right? And I feel like there are some certain seasons where there's certain conversations where you don't need to just confront your husband all the time.
Exactly.
Some things you're just gonna have to go to God for, because you know that what you're saying is not gonna be the thing that changes his heart. Sometimes you're gonna need God to change his heart in order for anything else to change on the outside.
That's real, man.
So
Like to go back off what she said, I always say that, like, when I go to God about Cain, I'm like, Lord, that is your son, and you know how to talk to him better than I can. Because sometimes, like she said, we may come across and they may not be receiving of what we're saying, but you know, like in this case, I didn't know how to say. I didn't want to crush him, you know. So I'm like, Lord, that's your child. You know how to talk to him. You know how to get to him. Or if it's something that you want me to say, I thank you for preparing his heart and for giving me the words to say, helping me to be soft and gentle. But he didn't tell me to say anything. He actually said something to him. So it's like, you know, we have to put him. A lot of times, it don't always have to be a conversation between us. He needs a conversation between him and the Lord. So it's like, you know, he knows him better than I do, just like God knows me better than Canaan does. And like, you know, we are his children. So it's like, you have to put your husband or your spouse in the Lord's hands.
Yeah. I think I respect and honor both of you for your perspective about like not wanting to crush my feelings. I respect it and I honor it. I just think that now, in the past couple of weeks, I've really been having conversations with the Lord about like, yo, like, I get that you don't want to hurt my feelings, but man, like, what is that doing to me? What was that doing to me? Because it's like, and like I said, I get it, I respect it, honor the heart behind it. But essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like, yo, like, are people putting my feelings above my health? Because weight gain is a result of bad habits. So if there's a bad habit, that habit got to be fixed. And if that habit ain't fixed, it's going to continue. Because if I was at 244, it would have been nothing to get to 260. Because remember, I dropped that in the group chat. You say, bro, you lying. No, I'm not lying. Like 60 to gain that weight back is literally nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, like, once again, I respect and honor both of what you are saying. The conflict for me is that, man, I don't want to be that person to where if my brother and my sister and my wife couldn't have an intervention with me and be like, hey, like, dog, like, we love you, bro, but it's getting it's getting a little out of control. You starting to look like Scott Calvin on Santa Claus. You remember that time he went to the you don't talk about with Tim Allen. Remember he went into the office and he was like, and they was like, hey, what's going on? Your belly's starting to show through those sweats. You know what I'm saying? It's like so I feel like that's the thing for me, that it's almost like I wanna be that humble of a person to hear the people that love me say, hey bro, we love you enough to tell you the hard things. That's good. You know?
I love that. I was going to say, I think also I've had to kind of retrain my mind with the way that I feel like God views marriage too, and confrontation in marriage, because I think sometimes we feel like the only way that we can confront our spouse is through a conversation with each other. But I feel like you can also go to prayer to confront something in marriage. And like, I think that we don't understand how much God loves marriage. We don't understand how much God loves like the small things within marriage. Like he wants you to be attracted to the person that you're married to.
Say that again.
Like he wants you to be attracted to the person that you're married to. Like God doesn't want, marriage to be super hard in every, aspect. Like there's certain things that God, listen, I want you to have an enjoyable marriage. Yeah. I want you to, enjoy being married to the person that you're married to. And so I think we have to retrain our minds with the certain conversations that we feel like are off limits with God. Like there's certain things that I feel like maybe I wouldn't have prayed to God about in the past, but like I prayed to God about my sex life, about, and that's real. Some people may think that that's weird. Like God doesn't care about your sex life.
No, he does care about it. He loves it.
I believe that he does. It's something that God designed and he created. So, but yeah, like I feel like when it comes to just confrontation, like you can go to God and believe that God is going to change the heart of the person that you're married to.
Come on now.
And that's confrontation too.
That's it.
Yeah. I think that's good too, because, one thing I've heard you say multiple times is your relationship with God has taught you a lot just about marriage as well. And if we are supposed to be honest with God, and our relationship with God is a blueprint for so many things, that should give us a model on how we should love our wives like Christ loved the church, how we should, honor our children, all the things that the Bible talks about, right? And I think to your point, seeking the Lord will also teach us how to give the right help. Whether, I love what J.R. said, like sometimes it's just about, hey, this is your son and you know how to have a better conversation with him, which is also a form of submission, in a way of submission to the Lord.
That's good, bro.
Because it's just good, like, bro. It's very easy for women and men, but I've heard it more so from the women's standpoint, for women to be naggers. And the help,
to get our point across.
Yeah, and the root is I'm trying to help, but to Kanan's point is we're getting lost in the leaves instead of getting to the root. And I was just listening to what you guys were saying and just taking notes. But one of the things is, first we gotta get to the root, like the real root, like the why behind the what, which now gives us some sense of revelation. And then as I've always said, is once you have revelation, now you have responsibility. I think it's interesting with this conversation as well is that you mentioned how the weight on you, Kanan, weighed down everyone else. Yeah. But what does it look like when the man of the house, the man in the family, is locked in, and God takes weight off of you, and now it's impacting your family in a reverse way, where we look, because a lot of the conversation we've been talking about has, not saying it's been a negative conversation, but a connotation of, I was going through heavy stuff. I was going through a lot of things, and it was impacting my wife. It was impacting my children in ways I didn't know. But what does it look like when the man commits to his wife? What does it look like the man loves his wife? What does it look like when the man leads his family well? What does it look like when the man is doing all the things? It's like a ripple effect that it doesn't. It has no choice but to hit the house.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's a cool opportunity about just what you have and what we all have. Especially I'm talking to men right now, because when the husband changes, everyone changes.
Say that again, bro. Say that again, man.
And that's why I think there's such an attack on families, and I think that's why it's such an attack on marriages, because if the enemy can take the husband out, it's hitting. Not only is it hitting him, it's hitting the house. Yeah, because it's going to hit the mom. It's going to hit the kids. It's going to hit how one child sees their father, how the other child sees their mother, and then and division and seeds are just planted in all the things. But when the man changes, everything changes. When the man is under submission to the Lord and what He's telling you to do, because again, to your point earlier, she could have said something to you and you didn't hear it. just out of a place of pride. But when the Lord speaks to you, the fact that you were submitted enough that even in your pain and discomfort of where you were still willing to listen, that's a win right there. The next part we have to talk about, you know, and that could be another conversation, but is, okay, I get the root, I get revelation, but now I also have responsibility.
Yeah.
Because we can talk about change all we want and believe God to do this, believe God to do that, but you also got to believe to put your hand to the plow.
Come on.
And to put your hand on some weights.
That's
put your
right.
hand on a budget. Put your hand on whatever he's instructing you to do, because unfortunately, a lot of times in the church, we want God to bless things that we won't do ourselves.
Yeah.
And there's a partnership. There's a partnership. Peter, throw your net into the deep end to catch the fish. Well, it didn't work. But because I trust who you are, I'm gonna put my nets out.
Say it again.
So it's a whole thing. That's why, and I think maybe conversations like this will help, you know, singles, but then for friendship, right? Because I heard you mention, you know, you were conflicted in a sense because like you're hearing this and you respect it, but was people in your life pretty much having a level of passivity for the sake of just kind of peace? Sometimes, man, I think people maybe aren't being passive or not saying anything because they don't want to say anything. It's just because, one, we don't normalize these conversations where we don't know how to not be offended in friendship, relationships, and marriage. But then also people just going through their own stuff too.
Right.
Where I can't get through my own leads to get to your.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Respect.
But hopefully this conversation gives people, I don't want to say like a blueprint, but to show like how important this is when it comes to, you know, friendship, when it comes to having married friends. And we're actually going to do an episode on that as well. But any last thoughts when it comes to just, and there's so much more that we could probably talk about when it comes to hard conversations, but any other thoughts that you guys have?
I think to your point though, one thing that I even want to verbalize now because I'm still processing everything from it is that, man, you are always invited to rake the leaves in my lawn. Like I need you to do that. And I apologize to you for not even verbalizing that. But like I need people to say, hey man, how's your marriage doing? I need you to say, hey man, are you still working out? That's why I told you hey, I need you to hold me accountable. So like, cause I'm trying to like when I was really trying to eat better, like, yo, I need you to hold me accountable. Cause I'm a human being. And as long as I'm in the world, I'm gonna still have temptation. Cause I still like cereal. I still like Cheerwine. I still like a Big Mac. I still like a number one with extra pickle and a large fry and a Coke and a milkshake. I still like that. Yeah. But I know now it's like, number one, I don't need it. But then number two, I need somebody to say, well, why are you eating it? Are you eating that because you know you not calorie counting today because you put in the work? Or well, what's going on in your marriage? What's going on in your life? What's going on in your job? Because for me, food was something that I was using to make myself feel better. And I need somebody. I feel like true friends not only need to be friends, but they need to be investigators.
That's good. That's good.
Like you need somebody to be like, hey bro, we need to have an assessment of how are you? You know what I'm saying? So when I say like, yo, you're always invited to rake the leaves in my life, like, nah, rake them suckers up, get some bags, pull them joints up. And because I want to be that type of friend to you. Like, I want to be like, hey, bro, like, how are you? How's your health? How's your mental health? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to, we can't just get on the phone to talk about ministry, the Lord, and sneakers. Now, we need to talk about what's going on with each other.
Yeah.
Because one thing I'm not going to do is wake up and get a phone call that something didn't happen. And we sitting there talking every week and I didn't do the investigation that was needed because I'm accountable to you. Like whether you think so or not, you're my responsibility as my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like I just, that's just how I am with my friends, bro. Like, bro, who has time to be sitting back and I call you my brother and I'm not investigating your life? You know what I'm saying? Don't even call me bro because we do that. We call each other bro too quickly. No, you're not my bro. You're not my dog. Because if you my dog and you ain't asked me how I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? Like, you ain't really asked me how I'm doing. Like, one thing that I've had to learn in this season, like, there are certain people that I stopped calling because the only time I would hear from you is when I called you. And then when I called you, you wanted to talk about something else that was negative. So I stopped calling you. And then I really started to see, and it's amazing, like, I really started losing weight when I started losing people. That's when I really started losing weight. Because certain people I didn't have to care for no more. Because you only wanted from me, you didn't want for me. So once you dropped, oh man, I ain't got to care for you like that no more. Bet.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's good,
so I said all that to say.
All of it.
I said all that to say. All that to say. You are always welcome to bag the leaves in my life, bro.
That's good, bro. That's good. What about you, Jay? You got anything?
Well, I was going to say something earlier, but my husband had so much on his heart to say, and I was just listening. so much on his heart to say.
They invited us on this podcast to talk. I got some stuff to talk about.
He always has so much to say, and I just let him go ahead. Speak from your heart, because you had a lot on your heart just now. It almost made me forget what I wanted to say. But what I was going to say earlier is, when you had mentioned, like, why is it hard to have hard conversations? Because it takes you to be vulnerable. A lot of us don't want to be vulnerable. It causes you to have humility. When you have those hard conversations, it's like you have to listen to receive and not listen to respond. And a lot of people like to, give their point and not really put their step in somebody else's shoes with how they're feeling. And that's when it turns into an argument. So I would just say, like, when you are having those hard conversations, which you're going to have in order for your marriage to flourish or for it to work, is like you have to have those conversations with humility, with your guard down, and you have to be vulnerable. Like, I'm not going to lie, with me, it's hard for me. Like, in the past, God's changed my heart, but I ain't like to show my emotion. I ain't like to be soft. Like, I don't want to have no conversation with you, because then I might cry, or like, I don't want to be vulnerable. But I know God is working on that in me. So it's like, having those hard conversations, you might have to let your guard down, and you just have to, you have to be fully exposed. So, that's what I had to say.
What about you, Bear? Anything?
I was going to say, I think that, I think it's so necessary to have uncomfortable conversations. I think that's pretty much like the theme of why we're having this conversation is that, in order to grow, especially in a relationship, you're going to have to confront things. And every time we've had, I feel like, a level of growth in our marriage is because of some type of uncomfortable conversation that we were been able to grow through. And it's hard, obviously. Like, you never want to go into something where you feel like, oh, did they really say this? Like, is this how they really feel? But it's like, if you can't get through something if you don't know, like, the status of where your relationship is. Yes. That's good. Right? Like, you can't, like, you don't know. Like, in everything, I feel like in the times in the past where I've assumed things, it's only because I didn't have a conversation with you. And then when I actually had a conversation with you, those lies were able to stop. Exactly. And I was able to confront it with truth. But you can't do that if you don't have the conversation. That's right. Like, so, yeah, if you're scared, you're in a marriage and you feel like, dang, like, I just feel like I want to go through my marriage and not have to have, these intense conversations. I think it's also about the perspective that you have. Because now that I know, like, listen, marriage is forever. Why would I want to go through a marriage and not feel like you're not the best person that you can be? I'm not the best person that I can be, because I feel like a marriage is supposed to bring the best out of both of us, right? Mm-hmm. But we can't do that if we're living in fear of, oh, this is what this person is going to think. Oh, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to do this. No, at the end of the day, we're here for life. We're one. So now if I'm not confronting something about you, that means I'm not confronting something about myself. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I'm in a partnership with you. We're building together. Why would I allow you to stay here when it's just like, no, if God is saying, like, no, this is why I put you together, right? It's not good for a man to live alone. So listen, there's a reason why he put us together. There's a reason why I'm your helpmate. There's a reason why we're better together. So let's have the uncomfortable conversations. Let's confront whatever it is in love. And I think that's the biggest thing is, like, how do you confront it? You're going to do it within love. Yeah. My intention is never to hurt you. My intention is never to tear you down. It's always so that we can be built up together. And I want you to always feel comfortable to come to me and say, you know what, you could do this better. Or, this is not who you are. This is not how God sees you. And so, I think it's necessary.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Well, we're going to do another episode with the Griers because, this is a really good conversation. And I think it's going to lead into what we're going to talk about next with them on our next episode, prioritizing and the importance of having married friends when you're married.
Yes.
I hope you see that there's a great benefit in having healthy friendships because this is doing life together. So we're going to talk about that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Be sure to comment, and let us know your thoughts or just observations from this conversation, what you loved about it. But then also, again, thank you for your support. Those who subscribe, those who share, and those who partner with us financially, we appreciate everything that you guys do to help move this forward. And we'll see you guys on the